All right, I'm going to erase this. We're going to do another one. This time I'm going to do a lot less and you're going to do a lot more. So practice closing number 2. Same thing, credits on the left-hand side, debits on the right-hand side. Same information as the top. What's the total cash to close due from the buyer at closing? We have a closing date of June 28th. Sales price $168,250. All right, so let's put this here first. Credits, and then over here we're going to put debits. First thing, sale price $168,250. Where does it go and how much? Where does the sales price go? Is it a debit or credit? And obviously it's going to be the whole sales price. All right, so we're going to put this in the debit, the sales price, right? We have to pay that. We have to pay that. That seems fair. $168,250. All right, due diligence. Parties agree to a 30-day due diligence period with a fee of $125. What do we do with that? If we close, I get it back, right? It's a credit. It's a credit. So I want my money back, $125. All right, earnest monies, $1,500. What happens there? We got a credit, right? We got it back. So let me get that money back, $1,500. All right, so those are the easy ones. Financing, I'm going to get a 95% conventional 30-year 5.75 loan. Lender's charging a 1% origination fee and a half a discount point. So let's start with the first part of it. How much is a 95% conventional loan, and is it a debit or a credit? All right, so I'm going to take $168,250, multiply it by 95%, and it's going to give me $159,837 and 50 cents. And that's going to be a credit because the bank is giving me the money, right? Bank's going to give me the money. Okay, the lender is charging a 1% origination fee. What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to be debited, because I have to pay it, 1% for an origination fee. So that origination fee is going to be $15.98 and 38 cents. All right, how about a half a discount point? What's a half a discount point? Now, I got to tell you, if we're going to get charged 1% or 1 point for the loan origination fee, why don't we just divide that in 2 and get the discount point, right? It's half of 1%. So we already know it's $15.9838 for the 1 full point. So a half a point, instead of trying to figure out the right multiplication of that, why don't we just divide that one by 2? Save yourself some stress. Look for your shortcuts, right? Look for your shortcuts. In that particular case, it's going to be a debit. We're going to have to pay that. All right, we're going to have to pay that. And you will agree with me it's $799.19. Seems to be you agree with me for that. And it's a debit. $799.19. All right, the lender is also collecting interim interest at closing. Interim interest at closing. Here you go. I'll let you do that one. We're closing on June 28th. We need the interim interest. How much is the interim interest on a loan of $159,837.50? We're going to take our loan amount, $159,837.50. All right. What's our interest rate on this loan? It is 5.75%. So I'm going to take that loan amount and I'm going to multiply it by 5.75%. All right, 0.0575. So let's do that. So we got $159,837.50 times 5.75%. That's going to give me $91.9065. All right, that's going to be my first year's interest, $91.9065. I'm going to divide that by 360 days. All right. And if I divide that by 360 days, it's going to be $25.53 a day. How many days? 28, 29, 30. 3 days, right? Times 3. And if we multiply that by 3, 76.59. Debit? Yes, right? Our interim interest here is going to be 76.59. Okay. The brokerage commission, 5.5%. Where does that go? Doesn't go on here at all. It's the sellers. It's the seller's commission, right? Sellers are going to pay that. So it's not going on here. The seller's loan payoff, $92,589.62. Is that going on here? We don't care about the seller's loan payoff. No, right? We'll leave it be. Go away. All right, homeowners insurance, the first year's premium. Does that go on here? Yeah, unfortunately, that goes on here, right? So the first year's premium is going to be here, $529. Taxes. All right, because we're closing on June 28th, they're not paid yet. So the annual taxes of $14.95 will be paid later in the year by the lender in the borrower's escrow account. Well, does the seller owe us some money? How much? So if we have $14.95 for the year, it's going to come, divide that by 360, and it's going to be $4.153 a day. And how many days do we have till June 28th? January, February, March, April, May. That's 150, and 28 is 178. We multiply it by 178, and it comes to 4.153 per day. So 739.23, and you folks have told me it is a credit. I believe you. 739.23. All right. Loan escrow account deposits. Required by the lender, 12 months of real property taxes. Well, let's start there. 12 months of real property taxes. How much is 12 months of real property taxes? $14.95, right? There you go. So we got $14.95 that we got to put as a debit. And 2 months of homeowners insurance premium. So go back to your $529 here. $529 is for the annual. So we got to what? Divide it by 12 and multiply by 2, right? You get that. And that's going to be how much? 88.17 is what I got. Close enough, 88.16. All right. And that is going to be a debit, right? We got to pay that. So let's say 88.17. Okay. Items paid outside of closing, $65 for a credit report fee, $300 for the appraisal fee. Where's that go? NA, right? Yeah, good point. We don't do it. We paid it, right? We don't have to bring it now. We don't have to do it. All right. Okay. Miscellaneous expenses. Deed preparation for $110. Seller pays it. Not their own deed, right? Their deed prep is for the seller, not for us. So that 110, right? So that we don't have to deal with that. Closing attorney's fees. Debit, we got to pay that, $425. Title insurance, $369. We got to pay that too. Survey, $389. We got to pay that. Termite inspection, we got to pay that. That's ours. Recording fees, deed $25, deed of trust $35. The loan payoff. Do we have to pay that? Who's paying off his loan? We're not paying off the loan. The seller is, right? So the other two we do have to pay. 25 plus 35 is what? 60? And excise tax belongs to whom? Seller? FedEx to the buyer's lender. We do have to pay that. All right, we got to send it to our lender. Okay. Somebody tell me how many credits I got. What do I got in credits? 162, 201, and 73 cents is what I got. Okay. What do I have in debits? What do I have in debits? Okay, got that one. Got credits. Give me debits. What do I got in debits? Add those up. All right, I'm going to take 174, 172, and 33 cents. Okay, I'm going to take that. All right, so if I have that and I subtract my credits, 162, 201, and 73 cents, how much cash do I need to close? Very good. Very good. All right. 11,970 and 60 cents. Okay. All right, I'll leave this up here for a second. The loan escrow account deposits. Loan escrow account deposits. Okay. So in this particular case, we have to give the lender 12 months of real property taxes. So we know that the annual taxes are $14.95. So that's 12 months. So we have to give them that money up front here for escrow. That means that they're going to hold it so that the next time they're due, they're just going to take it. Okay. And then you're going to build up again. Next time they're due, they're going to take it. And the other one is 2 months of insurance premiums. So we have $529 per annual insurance premiums. So if we divide that by 12, we're going to get a monthly number. And then we're going to take it and we need 2 months. So multiply that monthly number by 2. All right. And that's going to give us this $88.17. Everybody got all this? All right, let's have some fun with this now. I'm clearing it. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to shut up for this one. I'm going to give you about 15 to 20 minutes and I'm going to check on you and I'm going to leave you right there. Closing problem number 3. All right, I'll give you a chance to read it. I want you to do it. It's still the same buyer at closing. Same thing we've done twice already. Okay. At the end, though, I need a number. I want to know how much the buyer needs to bring to closing. Everybody understand what I want you to do? All right, go get them. Now, I got to tell you, we're doing this, and you guys are doing pretty well. How did we get the PMI? Well, we just took the total amount. What was it? We took the total amount of the PMI. So it's 950 up in about the fifth bullet point down, or the sixth bullet point. The lender requires a private mortgage insurance premium for the first year of $950. So that's going to be the first payment of $950. And then we're going to have to do the escrows. So take that $950, the same way we're doing taxes and the same way we're doing homeowners insurance, divide it by 12, multiply it by 4, right? Or 2 for PMI. And that's going to be your escrow for the PMI. Right? They gave us the PMI. Now, and you might have to figure that out. You might have to figure that out. Which of the recording fees the buyer pays? Yes. The deed preparation belongs to the seller because it's this deed that's got to be prepared to take away. The buyer's got to pay closing attorney fees, his own. He's going to pay the title insurance. He's got to pay the survey. He's got to pay the termite inspection. The recording fees, his deed, the new deed, and the deed of trust. The deed of trust is the mortgage, right? We usually call it a mortgage, but it's called in North Carolina the deed of trust. So that deed of trust has to be recorded. The release is the release of the seller's mortgage. All right, they're no longer going to be a lien on him for that mortgage because he paid it off at the closing. So he has to pay that release. Okay, so and that's really what it is: the deed and the deed of trust. Mm-hmm. Transfer taxes, a seller's charge. FedEx to the buyer's lender is $30. You do have to pay that. You don't have to pay the seller's lender or to the seller's lender. Yeah, you don't have to pay that. Interim interest is we have to pay the interest for the month of April because we're not going to get we're going to get the loan for those few days, but we're not going to get a bill. So I have to pay the interest on my loan for April 25 through 30. So what I got is I'm going to take the $247,500, which is my loan amount, and I'm going to multiply that by my interest rate, which is 4.75, figure out how much for the year, and I'm going to figure out how much for one day. All right, so I'm going to take that number and divide it by 360 days. And then whatever number I have there, then all I'm going to do is I got April 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, April 30, 6 days. So I take that daily rate and I multiply it by 6 days, and I have to pay that at closing. That's my interim interest. And really all it is the interim between the closing day and when the next bill will cover. And the next bill is not going to cover in this particular case until May 1st. I know by now you're saying to yourself, well, if we take all multiple choice questions, how are we going to be able to do a problem like that with a multiple choice question? I'm going to show you. All right, I'm going to show you. Now, when I show you the multiple choice answers, I want you to notice that a couple of them are within like $7. And there's no partial credit. You either get it or you don't. Okay? So the next question, and we're going to do the next one, much like you did the last one. You helped each other. You did the right thing. All right? But the answers are going to be there. There's going to be 4 answers. It's going to be your job to figure out which one that is. All right? So without further ado, get a sheet of paper out, credits on the left-hand side, debits on the right-hand side, and let's take a look at this. All right, it's going to look like this, okay? Now, $40,119.21 and $40,126.46 is the difference of $7.21. So take your time doing your numbers, right? The difference between C and A is the difference of $400. So all these answers are pretty close. Pretty close. So turn it up the heat a little bit. Not a lot, a little. Just do the math the way you're supposed to do it. All right? And then come up with an answer. How much cash must the buyers bring to the settlement? So have at it. Have fun. So if the taxes are paid when we go to closing, then we have to do what? We got to pay the seller back. So that means it's just another debit for us. If we're the buyer, we got to pay them back. So if the taxes are before September 1st and they haven't been paid, we're going to get a credit. If it's after September 1st, either way, whether they're not paid or the seller's paid them, if it's after September 1st, the buyer's going to get debited because he's either got to pay the seller back or he's going to pay the taxes off. Either way, he'll get a credit before September 1st. Mm-hmm. The questions that you're going to see are not going to be in this format. Now, it's a good way to practice all your math and do all of that other stuff, okay? But I want you to do question number 1 here, and I'll bring it up in a second. Question number 1, this mini settlement problem, this is the way you're going to see the problem in the test, okay? It's going to come up and it's going to look like this in paragraph form. I want you to take a look at question number 1. Now, it's a different way to see the question, but this is the way you're going to see it on the test, all right? Go ahead and try to do that. Work your way through it, and let's see if you can come up with an answer. So now get your sheet out the same way. Get your sheet out the same way, and try to figure this one out. So everybody see what this is all about? Everybody get this one? Can I work out the taxes? Sure. Let's see what we got here. Okay, 85% buyer will also pay 10. Let's see what else. Purchase price. Real property taxes for the current year are estimated to be $1,350 and are unpaid. Okay, so we have $1,350, right? Let me find a spot here. $1,350 divided by 360. All right, 1,350 divided by 360 is going to be, we're going to need to get that money, right? Times 145 days. Okay, so 1,350 times 360. Let me turn my calculator on. 1,350 divided by 360. I apologize. Divided by 360 is going to be $3.75 a day. Okay. And we have how many days? We got 145 days, right? 145 days times 145 days. And that is going to mean that he's got to give us that $543.75. Okay, so we got that part. Now, what's the next part of the taxes? Can I do the interim interest again? Sure. We're taking a loan out at 5% interest, okay? And we're settling on May 25th. So our loan amount is going to be $102,000, okay? $102,000, we're going to do this virtually the same way. $102,000. We're going to figure out what times our 5%, 0.05. We're going to get a year number, okay? So 102,000 times 0.05 is going to be 5,100. We're going to divide that by 360 to get a daily number. All right. And we divide that by 360. And that means we got 14.167. 14.167 times 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 6 days. 14.167 times 6 is going to equal times 6, $85. Actually, it is 84.999999996. $85. That's how you do it. So for interim interest, we're paying from the day of closing to the end of the month because we don't get the first bill until the first of the following month, right? So in this case, we're closing at May. We're not going to get a bill for June until July 1st, but it's not going to include those days for May, and the bank wants their interest. So we have to pay them at the closing. We have to pay them in advance, all right? So that's how we get that. Same thing with taxes, same thing. Now, in this particular case, you get a purchase money mortgage. That means that you got the deed and you got an extra $10,000 at the closing. It's just another loan. It's just another loan, okay? The second problem, but I want you to do it, the second problem is in the seller's perspective, not the buyer's perspective. So you got to flip your brains around a little bit. And we'll do this one when you come back on Monday or Tuesday, all right? We'll do this one. But this is from the seller's perspective. What does the seller get debited? What does the seller get credited? Could happen. Not always the buyer, right? Here's what we're going to do tonight. I promised you we'd go over number 2 in that math packet, that mini problem. So we'll do that. So in this problem, we're going to have credits and debits. So we're going to put our credits over here on this side. And then we're going to put our debits way over here on this side. So the first thing we have here is a seller has gone under contract for his home for $150,000. So that a debit or a credit to the seller. Now think about this. We did everything for the buyer before. In this particular problem, we got to kind of change our heads around. We have to look at the seller side of the ledger. The seller he's getting $150,000 for the sales price of his house. That's what? That's a credit, right? He's getting a credit. In this particular case, he's got to get the sales price is going to be $150,000. All right. And agreed to pay a 6% brokerage fee from the listing firm. We have to pay that 6%. So 6% of 150 is what? 6% of 150 is 9,000, right? 9,000. So that's commission. The buyer will be obtaining a new loan for 130,000. Does that matter to us at all? No. The seller has agreed to pay a 1% discount point on behalf of the buyer at settlement. Okay, so he's got to pay that. Now, 1% of the buyer's loan. Yes? So in that particular case, then we're going to pay what? What's 1% of 130,000? 1,300, right? 130,000 times 1%. So we have 1,300, and that's a discount point. Okay, we got that part. As of October 1, the seller's loan balance is $111,535 with an interest rate of 6%. So we got to pay off our loan too, don't we? Debit, right? We have $111,535, and that's our loan. The seller will need to pay the loan off and any accrued interest. Okay, so accrued interest is from the beginning of the month. When we say interim interest for the buyer, it's from the closing date to the end of the month. When we say accrued interest for the seller, it is from the first of the month to the closing date, including the closing date, because that's for the month, right? For the whole month. He's going to have 111,535, 111,535. He's going to have times 6%, all right? And then we're going to divide that by 360 and then multiply it by 20 days. So let's say 111,535 times 6% is going to be $66.92 We need to find out how much per day. So we're going to divide that by 360. And that's going to be 589. And how many days? So we're closing on what day? We're closing on October 20th. So we have to pay for 20 days, right? So we're going to multiply this by 20 days. So that's going to give us, if we multiply that out, 371.78. All right, 371.78. He's got to pay that. 371.78, and that is his accrued interest. All right. All right. What else we got here? The seller will need to pay a loan off and any accrued interest. Real property taxes for the current year are $1,250 and have already been paid. Uh-oh. We paid it, so we got to get some money back. So how are we going to do that? What we're going to do here is we're going to look at it and we're going to say our taxes for the year are $1,250. We're going to divide that by 360. That's how many days. So our tax rate is 3.472 per day. Now, how many days does the buyer owe me? The buyer owes me some money. He owes me November. He owes me December. That's 60. And he owes me 10 days in October from the 21st to the 30th. So that's 70 days he owes me. All right, so he owes me 70 days. 3.472 times 70 days. And that's going to equal $243.12. That's going to be a credit. I got to get my money back, yes? Would you agree? So over here in this credit column, I'm going to get my taxes, and it's going to be for $243.12. All right, so we've covered the seller needs to pay off the loan. Real property taxes, $1,250, been paid by the seller. I got those back. Seller has miscellaneous settlement costs of $265, as well as the excise tax. So the first thing we got to do is put in this $265, right, for the miscellaneous. $265 for miscellaneous. How much is the excise tax? $300 is our excise tax, right? $150,000 divided by 500 is $300. There's no remainder or anything else. Okay, I think that has everything. We've covered everything. Already been paid, cost October 20th. The excise tax is always based on the sales price, okay? Whatever it was, even if there's a loan assumption or anything else, whatever the sales price is between the buyer and seller, that is what the seller will pay the excise tax on. All right, so if we add up all of our debits, it should come to $122,771.78. That's our debits. Our credits are going to be $150,243.12. That's our credits. So $150,243.12 minus $122,771.78 means that the seller is going to net $27,471.34 seller net. You're not going to get one that's this big, but you're going to get one that's got 3 or 4 changes on it. And it's all a math that you already know. You just got to read through the question.
If you like this video, feel free to share it with a friend. For more real estate education content, please subscribe to the channel. From all of us at Seacoast Real Estate Academy, thank you for watching.